All right, we are back at it again, and welcome back to the Loyalty and Friends Self Love Podcast. Tonight, we have a great treat for you all, and I have an amazing special guest, Miss Tracy Lynn Pearson. Okay, so yeah, she is a mindfulness coach as well as a yoga instructor, and she also teaches meditation to those who are in need, and I think we all are in need of it. You don't know it yet, but you are. And it can have a lot of benefits to it. So we did part one of our interview where basically she gave an introduction. We just kind of shared a little background about what she does and about being a mindfulness coach and what that means, a mindfulness set coach and what that means. But I want to go a little bit more into the childhood on this section of your interview, because I truly believe the things that we go through as a child shape us as the adults we are, and even helps us choose what profession we want to work in later. So with that being said, okay, let's kind of like explain to us, like, what did your childhood look like as you were growing up? Did you grow up in like a one parent household, a two parent household? Like,
Mhm.
what did your childhood look like?
I grew up in a two-parent household. I had my mom and my dad and my younger sister. It was just the four of us. My mom had a really large family though, and there were 14 of them. So we had a big extended family, but really it was really just like kind of our own little group, I guess. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's amazing because, as we know, a lot of people go through different traumas, and sometimes a lot of us don't get to experience having a two parent household. So, what do you think the benefits of being able to grow up in a two parent household? What were some benefits of that for you?
Hmm. It's an interesting question. I think the biggest benefit for me was really just being able to have a relationship with both of my parents, and um, I wouldn't say that they had a perfect marriage. I mean, they separated a few times, and they had some struggles like all married people do, I guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and for that time, there wasn't a lot of counseling and things like that you could do. But I do feel like I had a separate relationship with both of them that was unique. And even, my sister and I were 3 years apart. And I would say her relationships with both of them were individual as well. So that's one thing that they really did well, was to make us, you didn't feel like it wasn't the same, or it didn't have to be, exact.
Mm-hmm. Right. So it's like certain things you knew that you can do with dad that you maybe wouldn't do with mom, and vice versa, you
Oh,
know?
yeah.
Absolutely. So that's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing to experience. And because you had such a healthy, childhood or upbringing, as I would say, I think it kind of shapes even you today to be able to be an expert and help those, you know, operate more in a healthy manner, especially when it comes to parenting. Because as you shared with us, you are a grandmother as well. So not only do you have children of your own, and how many children do you have again?
I have three children and three grandchildren. Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Do each one of your kids have a child or?
No, my youngest has two. So
Okay. Okay. Awesome. 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 So, was there anything that you maybe experienced that you were not as comfortable with as being a child, even with growing up in a two parent household?
yeah, as we were talking in the previous podcast about, kind of the mindfulness and helping to create space between the thing, I think some of the ways that I parented were kind of how I grew up. And I would say that my parents were responsive parents, meaning that, they quickly responded to things that happened, and may have lost their cool, or And let me just say this: I was not the easiest child, so that should be
That
there is
is hard
no.
to believe. That is hard to believe, Tracy.
Yeah,
I don't
no,
know.
I was a hot mess, and I'm not faulting my parents at all, because we didn't know what we know now, and I
Right.
think even when I was raising my kids, the things that we know now are so much different about brain development and how kids learn.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like some of the things, just their ability to control themselves, that kids can't really control themselves until they're about 9. But we start yelling at them when they're like, 1.5 and 2. So
Yeah.
mindfulness really helped me kind of flip the switch of some of those things that, might be considered more generational or cultural, or just the way that a person might respond.
Not only that, I think the world in a whole has evolved, So I get it. Some of the things that we learned as children, growing up as children from our parents, some were good, some maybe weren't so good. And as you learn and you develop and you have your own set of kids, then you start to figure these things out. And as we know, children don't come with any rules, any books. Even if you have a same set of kids in the same household, they have all different needs. And I can understand and relate because I have 3 girls, and all 3 of my girls are not the same. Okay, they have different personalities, they have different needs, they have different wants as well. So having to cater to each one of them, can be a little challenging sometimes when you have multiple children. And for me, like me and my ex-husband were married at one point, but we were young and didn't see the value of attempting to work it out. It was just too much trauma. And so for us, it was more healthier for us to separate versus, staying in that unionship. But at the end of the day, my kids do still have both parents. He's still here. Of course, he is involved as much as he potentially can be. And I'm a diehard mama. When it comes to my babies, my cubs, I go to the deep end sometimes. And then I have my 3-year-old niece that I'm also raising. So, you know, um, and so was that maybe your experience, like you was attempting to raise your children as you were taught as a
Mhm.
child, and that probably caused a little turmoil at times with your own children?
Absolutely. What I started to find was that the things that I experienced didn't work really. Like they just no longer, they didn't work for my kids. Or you just felt, I don't know, you felt like you learned more. So when you learn better, you have to do better.
Do better, right?
Yeah, and I also, I think also with their dad leaving, I think that also kind of affected how I parented, because now there wasn't two of us. It kind of all fell on me. So that in that tragedy, it allowed me to kind of reshift and rethink some of the things that I was doing, because it's like, okay, well, it's all on me now, and I'm fully responsible for better or for worse of how this turns out. So let me kind of get it together. But I really think the biggest change happened as I became a grandparent.
Mm. And
And
I'm not a grandparent yet. I'm not ready. My children are of age for me to become a grandparent, but we have these conversations quite often because I'm like, yo, listen. I mean, when it comes, I'm going to embrace it, but please, y'all, give me a little bit more time. Let me reach my 40s, and then we can revisit. And I'm about right there. I ain't
Mhm.
telling y'all all my age, but I'm very close to that mark. Just know that. But again, so I do hear that it's different, than raising your own children. It's a different level of love. And sometimes even the kids can sit back and be like, well, you didn't treat us like that. Why you treating them better? And I can even recall when my mom, I'm like, why she treat them better than she treated us? She didn't why you don't chastise them the way you chastise us? But I guess, as you say, the more you live, you learn. And once you know better, you do better.
Right.
So, like, what is so different for you with raising your grandchildren than when you had to be a full-time single parent for your own 3 children?
I really think that it's the weight of the responsibility that's gone, because,
Mm.
it's like I only have to be a grandparent. I am not, they have great parents, so they're they're not looking to me to take that on. So that allowed me to take a kind of a step back and to even look at my children, and I get to do things that I wish I had done differently. So with
Mm.
some of that new knowledge about, like, okay, well, we knew that yelling was wrong, but we didn't really know what else to do. So we yelled. So now it's like, okay, no, let's talk about a different way to handle behaviors. And they're very much into like, let's not add any trauma. So I really feel like I even get to partner with my kids now in terms of trying to raise a generation without trauma. That's what we want, or with less trauma. We know there will always be some, but how do we reduce that? And that's really what promoted the parenting class that we did. It's just like, okay, we want to figure out how to change behaviors and how to raise kids, how to feel, like emotions are very, very real. And we don't want them to think like that anger is bad. It's just an indicator. It's just like a little indicator light, and it means that you need to do something. So, what do you do that's appropriate when you're angry, that won't get you in trouble, that won't cause more trauma? And how do we handle our own anger as parents and grandparents when we're raising our kids?
Absolutely. And to what you're saying, I think nowadays, for one, kids are a lot more outspoken. We knew, like, you better hush. You might get smacked in the mouth. You just never know what might happen if you be a little bit too voiceful. So I feel like as a child, I just kind of recall some of the trauma, like not being able to have a voice, or just basically being told, do as I say, not as I do. And I just feel like, as even parents, we have to lead by example. You cannot sit here and chastise your child for something that you potentially do yourself. Like, what example are we really showing? So the kids are a lot more outspoken, I would say, and not as tolerating of certain things that we just had. We didn't have a choice. You just tolerated because you knew better, and there wasn't a lot of laws in place that would protect you from certain things. So we just were a lot quiet because of our circumstances and the environment, I would say. So I think that because more communication is being added as a more of a tool, it's definitely helping because now children feel like they're being heard and not just seen. And it's important because I remember even, being young, when you tell some, say something about your nerves or, you stressed out, they look like stress. You ain't got no stress. Like, but children do have stress. Their stress look different than adults. So the way they process things, the way that they adapt to the world as a whole is totally different than we do as adults. And I feel like we have to recognize it and acknowledge it and not just look at them like, oh, you ain't got no worries in the world, or just kind of shoot them off. And because a lot of children weren't being heard, there was an increase in suicidal rates amongst our youth, the younger dying younger. And that's something we definitely want to change the narrative for.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good point that you're bringing up, because really, like, our kids, they're under stress, they have emotions, but what they don't have is the ability to know how to handle it yet. They
Mm-hmm.
haven't developed that part yet. And so often we pushed those feelings down. We gave them bad news and expected them to look at us and smile and like it. And, things that we could never, I mean, it took us to be adults. And sometimes even then we couldn't do
Right.
it ourselves. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so to be able to give kids, like, our job is to help them navigate those emotions.
Right.
You can't bring the calm. You can't, create calm if you're not bringing calm. So we have to fix it in ourselves and then show them, how to navigate those feelings. They're going to have that everywhere. We don't need to break their spirit. It's going to be broken once they once they get out there.
Oh, yeah.
Our job is to build them up and, to help them grow into happy, healthy, people.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm pretty much enjoying this conversation for sure. I think it's very divine. The conversation we're having is much needed. And even if your child is struggling, I say don't sit there and turn a blind eye, because sometimes it's what's not being said is what's most important. So we got to look, for those nonverbal signs and gestures that they also do to really tune in and hone into our children and just be more hands on with them. I think it's very, very important. Especially, I think COVID changed a lot of things for a lot of people. That isolation, ooh, it was dangerous, not just for the children, for adults. People didn't have a choice. Like where we was always on the go. Now you don't have a choice but to sit here and deal with this person and kind of figure it out, right?
Right.
You didn't have a choice, and I think there was a lot of separation. There was a lot
Mhm.
going on, so it either made or break you, right?
Mhm.
And but to that point, I think it also made us realize the importance of connectivity. Like children needs to be able to be around their peers. They need to be able to interact with people of their own age, and not only just people in general. So to keep them isolated may not be the best thing.
Right. No, no, it's dangerous, in fact. So,
Absolutely. So I definitely enjoyed this conversation, you all. If you have not joined OWL, again, I'm going to say it here. I said it on Instagram, but OWL is an amazing platform. That's why I met this beautiful queen on the OWL app, and that's OWWLL. So it's OWL with two W's and two L's, right? So I do encourage you all to join us on OWL, especially if you are a professional in whatever lane that you do. It can be music, you can be a counselor, podcaster like myself, content creator, influencer. People from all walks of life are on this app. You can find lawyers right at your fingertips, okay? So I do encourage you all, join the OWL app. There is a $10 monthly fee if you would like to monetize, okay? And part of the monetization is that you get to take calls as an expert, okay? One-on-one calls, and you pay for every single call. So I definitely encourage it. I would, I speak highly of it because it's been a game changer for myself, and I've been able to find my guests effortlessly, right? So thank you so much. I appreciate you so much, Tracy Lynn, just for being a part of the Loyalty and Friends Self Love podcast. You have been amazing. And you all, it doesn't stop here, okay? So I do want to put that out there. At 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be going on Clubhouse. So if you're not on Clubhouse, that's another platform I would encourage you all to join. Join us on Clubhouse for a Q&A, okay? Question and answers. Our sister, Miss Tracy Lynn Pearson, will be on the stage. So if you have some questions you want to ask her about yoga, about meditation, about what she does as a mindfulness coach, I would encourage you all, come join, okay? You don't have to be seen. It's an audio app. So you can join the stage, ask your questions, and get answers right there on the spot, okay? But yes, make sure y'all tap in. As you see, we have been showing her platforms. So let them know how they can connect with you, Trace. I think it's best from the person itself.
oh, absolutely. Thank you. My website is mindfullyrefreshed.com, and my username for Facebook and Instagram are mindfully refreshed. You can also follow my link tree, and that has the parenting course that we offer. It's called Tiny Humans and All the Feels, and that handle is also mindfully refreshed. So, Loyalty, I just want to say thank you so much because you are just such a beautiful soul, and I
Mhm.
already feel like we're sisters. So,
Absolutely.
thank you
Absolutely.
for your hospitality and your graciousness.
You are so, so welcome. And I'm looking forward to seeing you on Clubhouse so we can continue this conversation. We will be there approximately maybe 30 minutes. I want to be respectful of Miss Tracy's time. She has been amazing. We've been at it since 7 p.m. So yes, we want to keep it down to a minimum of 30 minutes. If she wants to go over, it's really her choice. But yes, if you have a question that you would like to be answered by our amazing Tracy Lynn Pearson, then I would encourage you, come join the conversation, okay? But yes, it has definitely been an honor to have you. Any last words before we close out of here tonight?
No, just be well. Be well.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So yes, you all join us on Clubhouse. Hopefully we will see you all in 10 minutes, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will not be late, okay? And until next time, I will see you all next Friday with another amazing guest. You don't want to miss it, okay? Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, okay? Subscribers and the comments are definitely encouraging. And plus, we want to build this platform. So if you need to tell your story, okay, make sure you go to that link below and connect with me, and I'd be honored to tell your story just as well. Okay, so thank you again, Miss Tracy, and we are signing out for now.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Bye bye.
Later.